Welcome to another episode of Game Changers for Government Contractors. If you are new to the podcast, let me just give you a quick overview. We've been doing this podcast for about 9 years, 300 plus episodes now, where we talk all things government contracting. The focus is typically in sales and marketing, teaming. We talk a little bit of business development. We have experts on every other week, and every other week is me by myself doing a topic like we're doing today. If you're not familiar with RSM Federal, our focus is helping our clients master the art and science of government sales. So if you are brand new to government contracting and you're listening to this and you need help getting sales, you can contact us. If you've been in the business for 50 years and you're kind of plateaued and you want to get over the hump, you can reach out to us as well. So enough about that. Let me dive into the topic today. I want to talk about leadership myths. And the reason I want to talk about this is regardless of where you are in the business, whether you're the owner or you're one of the salespeople, you likely have some leadership role. Now, I'm going to direct most of my discussion today towards the owners and executives of the company, because I think that's really the folks that tune in the most and where we're going to make the biggest impact today. But again, regardless of where you are, I think you're going to get a lot out of us talking about leadership here today. And a reason I want to talk about the myths is I run across people who have great leadership potential, but think that they aren't, or think that because they're deficient in one of these areas that they can't overcome it. And there's a lot of doubts around that. And so I want to address these because wherever you are on the spectrum around these myths, there's a way to overcome it. So let's talk about that today. So let me jump in with the first one, and that is that leaders are born and not made. I think a lot of natural leaders are born leaders. They just naturally, whether they're on the playground, in the classroom, out on the sports field, out in business, I think there's a lot of people that naturally just take charge and lead. That doesn't make them great leaders, by the way. Just because you take charge doesn't mean you can lead others. It means you know how to take charge. That's all it means. But there's a lot of people that get thrust into leadership. I was one of those people. I was always the quiet guy in school. I was always the quiet guy on the playground. I've told this story a bunch of times. I didn't even eat lunch in school till I was almost in my 7th or 8th grade year in school because I was so shy and to myself. I was not the kid picked first on the playground because I was quiet and just kind of held back. And so it took a lot for me to become a leader. I had to become it. Now, there was something in me that wanted to do it, but going in the Army helped me a lot because there's a lot of leadership things that they teach you there. Getting into business helped me a lot. And then being thrust into leadership roles helped me a lot. But that's not the extent of where I became better at being a leader. And by the way, I'm no means the best leader ever. I just have the capacity to lead. And so where I got a lot of that is just continuing education, reading books, doing training. I've spent more money on coaching than you could possibly imagine and than I would possibly admit on one of these calls or one of these podcasts. So I've spent a lot of time and investment in that area, and I still know I have a lot of weaknesses as a leader. And so I'm constantly trying to overcome those kind of things because I don't know that I'm a perfectionist, but I definitely strive to get better as I go through life. And so not all leaders are born leaders. A lot of them are made. So if you wake up one day and you've gone from being one of the 12 people in IT on your team to somebody saying, well, I'm going to now put you in charge. And now you're like, oh, I don't know anything about leadership. You can do it. You can be made into a leader. Now you need support, and there's a lot of things from your team that you need, but there's enough free videos on YouTube, podcasts about leadership, books on leadership. There's enough material out there that you can slowly get your voice as a leader, even if you don't feel like you're a natural born leader. It can happen. And I would say there's a lot of people that are not natural leaders that get thrust into those roles and become some of the best leaders that you'll ever encounter. They just are. So you could be one of those people that's listening to this thinking, I'm running this business. I don't feel like a leader. I don't feel like I embody the traits of a leader. How do I get through this? Well, time and training are going to be the things that you need. So there's some really great resources out there. Just get on Amazon and go and search leadership books. Get on podcasting, search leadership podcast, and gravitate towards a lot of these people that are really good leaders. And look for people that are in your community, in your market, that you're like, wow, I really admire this person. And reach out to them and see if they would give you some tips. Ask them if you could take them to lunch and buy them lunch. And by the way, if they offer to pay for lunch, do not let them pay for lunch. You pay for their lunch and thank them for mentoring you in whatever ways they mentor you. So not all leaders are born. Some of them are actually made. The next one on my list is leaders must have all the answers. I can tell you, as a matter of fact, I do not have all the answers. As a leader, you're not required to have all the answers. You're not even required to know how to get the answers. You do need to figure out a way to do it, but that's why you have a team. If you're a leader and you're by yourself, it's all on you. But in almost every situation, leaders have team members. And those team members all perform different functions on the team. You should be tapping their knowledge to figure out how to find the answers. And I would encourage you to do that, not just because you don't know an answer, but to involve your team in what's going on. So leaders don't have to have all the answers. You just have to be willing to search for them. Whether it's Google, reaching out to your team, reaching out to a mentor, there are ways that you can find the answers to questions that you don't know. So leaders don't have to have all the answers. The next one on my list, number 3, leaders can't show weakness. I think this one is just complete BS. There's a scene in the movie Braveheart. And if you've ever seen the movie Braveheart, it's kind of gut-wrenching up front. You know, he falls in love. That's not the gut-wrenching part, but he falls in love. And then the soldiers roll into town. They kill his wife. And he gives this speech after they kill her about how they are going to fight. And it's from a moment of weakness and pain. And it's one of the most inspirational speeches of the whole movie. And it really empowers all of the people in his tribe, or whatever you want to call it, to rise up and fight back. And so I'm not saying as a leader, you need to constantly show weakness, but there are strategic times. And let me take that back. There's not even strategic times. And I'm going to leave that in the podcast because I want you to hear I made that mistake. There are times where your humanity really needs to show. And you're going to feel like it's weakness. And some people may see a little bit of it, but it will show a lot of strength in you to be able to be vulnerable with your team. You know, let's say somebody in your family passes away and you show up to work and like, hey, I'm not going to be here the next 2-3 weeks, month, because I need some time off because this was my whoever and it's really hurt and whatever. Or somebody on the team passes away. That happened to me when I was in the Army. Or somebody leaves, or there's a major setback and you've got to deal with it. And there's some tears and you get choked up. It's okay. Now, you don't want to do that every day, but you can really rally your people around you when you show a moment of vulnerability. So don't be afraid to occasionally show that. I just wouldn't recommend it on a daily basis. Like, oh my gosh, somebody took my parking spot in the parking lot and my life is horrible. Oh my gosh, it's raining today. Oh my gosh, the election happened yesterday and I'm not happy with who was elected. Like, those are not times to show vulnerability and weakness. But there are specific ones that will mean a lot to your team. And you will know them. You will know when you're in a moment of weakness that is worthy of being shared. And so there's not a formula for this. There's not a, hey, every 3 months I need to do it. It may be once a year, maybe once every 2, 3 years where something happens. And that's a time to show a moment of weakness. But be okay with that because it often rallies the troops around you. The next one on my list is a very popular saying right now. And the saying is, how you do one thing is how you do everything. I don't agree with that. I think that how you do one thing is how you do a lot of things, but it's based on your level of interest. So I may cut corners in cleaning the bathroom or the kitchen or something in the yard because it's insignificant to me, or it's insignificant in the grand scheme of things, that it doesn't need to be perfect. But in other areas of my life, I'm like, hey, this needs to be as close as perfect as can be because the value that I place on it, the place of importance that it holds in my life or in the business is higher. And so how you do one thing is not how you do everything. So don't let someone say, well, the fact that you didn't get up and, run 5 miles this morning is an indication of how you treat your body. And that indication of how you treat your body is how you do this or that, whatever. No, you just may not like running. You may go to the gym and walk. You may walk around your neighborhood. You may have other ways that you take care of your body. You may be, on a diet and whatever. There's all kind of things. So I think that saying can often get in people's mind and make them feel bad about how they're doing something. And you have to look at it the priority level of it and not just the thing. How you do one thing is not how you do everything. Leadership is about control. That is also a myth. There are leaders that do focus on control, but leadership is not about control. Leadership is about empowering others. So my personal vision or purpose for my life is to inspire others to chase their dreams. That's not for me to chase my dreams. It's not for me to control people to help me chase my dreams. It's to inspire others to chase my dreams. In your life, in your business, the more you can empower others, the more you can enable the team to accomplish the mission, the more you're accomplishing the job of a leader. Being a leader is not about control. And if you think it is, you need to rethink your whole approach to leadership. The last one that I'm going to put on here is that leaders need to be extroverts. Most people, when they meet me, do not realize I'm an introvert. I am at heart most of the time an introvert. Now, if I'm with my people, I can hang out with my people all day long, well into the night, and it doesn't drain my battery. Now, if I'm with people that I'm not enjoying their company, that sort of thing, that does drain my battery. But I'm often good at just working alone at my desk. I don't have to be in an office surrounded by 25 people. I don't. I never have been that person. And so anybody can be a leader, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, you can be a leader. And there are a lot of people that get thrust into leadership that are introverts that do really well at leadership. So don't think because you're an introvert and you like to be alone that you can't be a good leader. You will often be the leader who thinks about things that the other leaders don't. Like, hey, I think it's going to make everybody uncomfortable if we did this activity, or I think it would make everybody uncomfortable if we did that. So, what's a way we can include everybody so they don't feel uncomfortable? Like, you may think about things that the extroverts don't think about, and you'll add a different flavor to being a leader than the last leader that was in your role. So anybody can be a leader. So I just want to share these with you today because, like I said at the outset of this podcast, I think there's a lot of myths out there that cause really good leaders to doubt themselves. And hopefully you can walk away from this today saying, you know what? I can overcome this. I can overcome the fact that I don't feel born to be a leader. I can overcome that I don't have all the answers. Hey, I can show some weakness. And you know what? This is not about control. I can do this. And if you don't think that, let me say this final thought. It's simply because you probably don't have anybody in your life who's leading you. So reach out to us, join one of our coaching communities, get involved with some sort of mentorship program or coach, start listening to a really good podcast that's all about leadership and your mindset and that sort of thing, because you are one moment of inspiration away from being the leader that you want to be. I believe in you. We'll see you next time.